Alberta, we discuss controversial issues in Alberta, and today we are looking at nuclear power.
Why do we need a nuclear power plant?
Well, to deal with the serious power shortages that we anticipate in Alberta.
First of all, what is nuclear power? And is it really coming to Alberta?
Well, nuclear power is simply taking uranium and causing it to react, which releases tremendous amounts of energy. This reaction is controlled in a nuclear reactor that uses the energy to boil steam, which drives turbines that produces electricity. And there's currently a proposal to build a nuclear power plant in the Peace River region, which is in northwestern Alberta. Bruce Power filed an application with the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission to get the approval for this site, with an earliest possible startup dates of 2017.
Why would anybody want to build a nuclear power plant in Alberta?
Well, alternate sources of power are needed in Alberta for residential use and to supply the oil sands. A nuclear power plant produces next to no greenhouse gases or air pollutants. Even though the capital cost is high for a nuclear power plant, its operating costs are lower, and it is 15% less expensive than its natural gas equivalent over a 50-year lifetime.
Sounds great. Why don't we just build one right away?
Well, some people are concerned about the dangers of nuclear power.
Dangers? What dangers?
To look at all the concerns and risks, we should start at the source of nuclear power, which is uranium. Uranium is a radioactive metal that can cause cancer and radioactive poisoning.
Sounds harmful.
It is harmful. The uranium must be mined from the ground, and people who mine the uranium have been shown to suffer from cancer at a higher rate than those around them. Plus, weapon-grade uranium is unsuitable for use in nuclear reactors, and it is sold to be used in nuclear weapons, which gives society the capability to completely destroy the Earth.
I know that. I wouldn't want that.
Me either.
So, is that the only issue?
Actually, it's not. The nuclear reaction is carefully controlled, but if something goes wrong, a nuclear meltdown will occur.
A meltdown? Just like an ice cube?
Actually, it's more like the sun melting half of Alberta and polluting the rest of it with radioactive fallout. You know, in 1986, a nuclear power plant melted down in Chernobyl due to poor reactor design and untrained personnel. There have been a total of 56 fatalities directly related to the incident, and hundreds that are strongly related.
Yikes! But I'm sure with a smarter design and trained professionals, we won't have a meltdown.
That is probably true, but after the uranium use, they put the radioactive waste into larger pools of water, and these pools stop the waste from melting down. This is an added risk, and the pools are a potential target for terrorism.
Are there any alternatives?
Other than high CO2 emitting power plants, there are a few possible renewable sources of energy. The two major types are wind power and solar power. Alberta already has a number of wind power mills near Lethbridge.
Why can't we just rely on solar or wind energy?
Well, solar powers cannot produce during the nighttime, and its efficiency would be very poor during the winter months. Wind turbines need to be placed in strategic locations, and a lot of those locations have already been tapped out.
Does any province in Canada have surplus power? If so, why can't we just buy from them?
Well, we buy power from British Columbia during certain times of the day to account for our shortages, but buying power is much more expensive than producing power ourselves.
Are there any nuclear power plants in Canada?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there are nuclear reactors in Ontario, Quebec, and New Brunswick. Ontario alone counts for 50% of the total power produced in Canada, partly because of its nuclear reactors.
How would the Albertan economy benefit from such a project?
The economy would be boosted by immediate advantages such as power plant construction and long-term advantages like we would be able to sell power and it would create jobs for hundreds of people and rely less on the oil and natural gas price fluctuations.
Would the environment and wildlife be affected by such a project?
First of all, any nuclear radiation leaks will remain in the environment almost indefinitely, since the half-life of radioactive isotopes can be up to millions of years. Secondly, nuclear power plants have a high demand for water, and since it is used for the steam turbines, cooling the reactor, and for cooling pools that store the radioactive waste products. And as far as wildlife is concerned, the power plant uses small amounts of land compared to wind farms. Again, any radioactive leaks have the potential to harm animals.
Would the radioactive substance remain in safe hands?
With trained professionals, a well-established security system, and in a neutral nation, we expect it to be in safe hands at all times.
Are the workers ethical enough in Alberta to handle the situation?
Ethical behaviors of the individuals cannot be guaranteed. However, some professionals, such as engineers, are held accountable for ethical behavior. At the end, it all depends on the individual to decide how to use the technology, either in a productive or a destructive manner.
Are the benefits lucrative enough to overlook the hazards?
Well, there is the economic boost we talked about. Then there are the environmental hazards too. So it has been a very controversial issue, and people aren't able to come to a conclusion.
You have been watching I Am Alberta. This is Kanapan Manikim. Have a good night. Thank you.
My name is Kevin Schneckhoff. Stay classy, Calgary.